Hi, everyone. Welcome to 5 Questions with LeRoy Butler. And we're here after week 1, and the Packers are 0-1 following their loss to San Francisco.
Did you pick San Francisco or did you pick the Packers?
I actually picked the Packers. I had one of the worst weeks picking games. Everybody who I picked pretty much lost.
Next time you pick and call me first.
Only Houston bailed my butt out last night.
And they almost lost.
Yeah. So let's get into this game right away. Before we touch on all the specifics of it, it's another loss to San Francisco. From a psyche standpoint, what do you think this loss does to the Packers?
Well, I remember back in the 90s, remember Dallas had our number for a while, but we had San Francisco's. 3 teams in the 90s just kind of rotated, Dallas, San Francisco, and Green Bay, about domination for 2 or 3 year period. It just seemed like the quarterback elevates his game against the Green Bay Packers. The whole offseason, you know, he's on all these billboards and all these magazines, how he's this great quarterback, Colin Kaepernick, and that the Green Bay Packers are going to stop the pistol and stop the ride and decide. And he wanted to show people, look, if you're going to just stack the line of scrimmage, that I'm a proven quarterback. So I think if you look at it objective-wise, I think the Green Bay Packers achieved the objective. Not to let a quarterback use his legs and give up 100 yards to Frank Gore. So I think the physicalness of this, and that could have something to do with Johnny Jolly, I think the Packers won that physical part.
Okay.
Now, we're going to get into all the X's and O's later, so stay tuned for that. But I think the physicalness of it is made the gap close, I think, a lot better to make me feel better.
All right, well, let's talk about that. What's the definition, what's the line between physical play and dirty play? And we're talking specifically about Clay Matthews hit on Colin Kaepernick on the sideline.
Something we've taught for the last couple of years. Don't leave your feet. Don't launch yourself.
As someone who was suspended for a game for leaving his feet against Andre Ware, correct?
You're supposed to be my friend, but that's true.
So tell me about that. You know?
I think, and ever since that particular play, they say don't leave your feet and you're fine. Because once you leave your feet, you can't stop in midair. But what I would caution people is to say, if that was Aaron Rodgers and a guy left his feet, let's say it was Aldon Smith or any one of the 2 middle linebackers, I'd be upset doing that to my quarterback. So I can understand that happening. And Matthews is probably going to get fined for it. But dirty play, no, he's not a dirty player. Because if you look at all of his particular plays, there's nothing dirty about it. Let's go all the way back when he put Kevin Cobb down and hurt his shoulder against Philly. There's nothing dirty about that. No. And there's nothing dirty about launching yourself, hitting a quarterback. It's just a personal foul. You get fined and you move on. I think for the most part, the media blew it up because there's a great photo of him launching himself.
And he talked all week about how they had to get hits on Kaepernick.
But we do that every week. He's going to do the same thing with RG3, and we'll talk about that in a minute. He wants to hit all quarterbacks. Yeah. But when you say it and do this, it does make the commissioner talk about this is what we're trying to eliminate from football. So, and the coaches agreed that it wasn't a great play for Matthews, but by no means is he a dirty player. Matter of fact, I wanted him to get tougher out there because he's like a one-man wrecking crew.
Okay. All right. I went back and looked, and I believe he's only been fined twice, and one was for a uniform violation and one was for a face mask. So, the history's not there, so he probably won't get suspended.
No.
He'll just get a fine.
Dominic Sue may get suspended.
Yeah, he may get suspended. Yeah. Okay. Well, couple areas we can look at. Let's go defense first.
And do we have to?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Packers prepared all week for Morgan Burnett to play, and then on Friday his hamstring flared up and they couldn't play him, and they had to go with McMillan and Jennings. Yeah. From your standpoint, how did they fare?
Well, I'll say this. I asked myself back in April, should the Packers even draft a safety and start the draft and development again? And they chose not to do that. McCarthy said, these 2 guys have played a lot, they're experienced, we're going to go with those guys. So you go through OTAs, you go through mini camps, training camp, you feel like they're ready. And to get into a game and not have one of your best players, a guy that you just gave a lot of money, Morgan Burnett, it sets you back a little. I was not happy with the safety play at all. And we're going to talk about a little bit in the X and the O's. It's just about the missed tackles. I mean, McMillan has to understand that he can't be a hitter. He has to become a tackler. grab cloth, and get the guy on the ground.
Yeah.
MD Jennings, to me, is just a little too small, but he's fast enough. And I think you got to take the guesswork out of being a safety. And I think that's the reason why safeties of the 90s and the early 2000s, you had one aggressive guy, you had one guy that can cover.
Yeah.
And I don't think either one of these guys are good at covering one-on-one or being able to use their instincts.
Both of them looked, I thought, tentative in that there were a couple plays where they could have drove
Yes.
on the player, on the ball, and you know, hit the
Yes.
guy
Yeah.
across the middle, and they chose to just wait and, you know, try to make the tackle. So,
Well, when you have draft and development with a young guy, it's a level to that the Packers are okay with it.
yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see if they go to the
Yeah.
rookie or first-year player, Chris Banjo, next week and see if they decide to play him a little
Yeah.
bit more because, you know, he's a little more aggressive. Let's go switch over to offense and talk about Eddie Lacy. And, you know, the coaches were did not hold back in saying that he needs to be better prepared in this game. He apparently, you know, blew some assignments and didn't run where he was supposed to. He is really a vital cog to this offense. It's he's the only addition they really have. You know, you
Right.
think about, they didn't sign free agents.
Nope.
They draft people.
Right.
So, you know, where do they go with him now after, you know, one game? Does he get the message or what?
Well, Tom, I mean, everybody fumbles, okay? I mean, it's a part of the game. Some people agree to disagree about them benching him when he fumbled. But here's what I say. McCarthy indicated that he's a 3-down back. I don't necessarily see that. It seems like when Lacy's in there, he slows the offense down because he's a bruiser. With this type of offense, it fits like a Reggie Bush type, who had also a good game against the Vikings. So if you're going to run the ball, you can't do it out of shotgun with Eddie Lacy. It has to be a fullback in there, him running behind Kuhn to set up play action, go more to a traditional running style, sort of what he's used to when he was in Alabama. But to ask him to run it from the shotgun or run those counter plays or counter lead plays or a straight dive, it just takes him a while to get going. Now, if you can put him with a James Starks or with somebody else, the way he's a 2-down back, or he's rotating in, I think he'll be more effective, especially in the fourth quarter when you're ahead.
Yeah.
No one's going to want to tackle Eddie Lacy once he get into the secondary.
Right.
But Tom, he can't even get into the secondary because this offensive line at times weren't strong enough to give him the perimeter that he needs.
Now, he did show on third downs that with that screen pass that he
Yes,
can be an effective guy, and I think that's why they want him on third downs.
Okay.
But don't you think they got to explore a little bit more James Starks? And this is where the failure of Jonathan Franklin, a smaller back, quicker guy, you know, his failure to be ready is hurting them.
To Lacy's defense, this is a very complex offense to learn in a short amount of time.
In a no-huddle
really is.
environment, too.
Yes, because at any time, Rodgers can change the play. If he changed that play, now he changes the protection.
Right.
With all that being said, I still got to carry the ball and, you know, and secure it.
Yeah.
So we're going to give Eddie Lacy a pass because he is a rookie.
Okay. All right. And this week, quickly, RG3 looked terrible in the first half. Thought he kind of picked it up in the second half and probably will play better against the Packers. Same concepts, though, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to see, but a bigger offensive line, I think, for the most part, and a better running back. Alfred Morris, they run the ball in the perimeter, same kind of riding the side pistol plays. But, Tom, the Redskins were one of the best play-action teams in the National Football League last year. If you go back last year, the first game against the Saints, deep passes to Garcon over the top. And seeing that we're talking about safeties here, stay tuned for X and O's with that. They got to be on point this particular week because you do not want play action over the top. And giving up 13 catches to Anquan Bolden on the inside in the perimeter. They got an older guy, Santana Moss, a little smaller guy. He got to be licking his chops. So hopefully the Packers can make those corrections.
Okay. And be sure, like LeRoy just said, be sure you check in with X's and O's because we're going to go over a couple of those big-time mistakes they made in the secondary.
And I know it's easy for us to do, to break it down, so, but we just try to educate you some of the things. Again, thank you so much to Sendix Ballestero, owned and operated. We raised $40,000 this past weekend for Penfield Foundation. They help, you know, kids and inner-city families and stuff like that. So thrilled to be a part of that. Classic Lanes, if you want to play some bowling. And again, thank you for all of my supporters and fans. And you can follow Tom on Twitter at
Tom Silverstein.
and me at Leap36.
All right. Thanks. We'll see you next week.